Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Mid Morning Talk with me, Maryam Mkwanda. It is Tuesday, the 30th of March 2021, and I'm coming to you live from our studios at 92 Zayu Street, Robertsham, Gauteng. So coming up on the show today, I'm going to be chatting to Master NLP practitioner, life coach, and media personality, Johara Hassem, about the Ramadan 1442 International Summit and her topic in particular, the purpose of anger and how to use it to get closer to Allah. At 11:30 for this week's My Journey to Islam, I'm going to be chatting to Muhammad Ramiz Bitterson, who will be sharing his story with us. And at 12:05, Muhammad Shonara is our hit list for today. He was also part of Mail and Guardian's 200 Young South Africans last year. And he's a media, communications, and marketing professional, as well as a volunteer and activist. And we end off the show chatting to award-winning director, filmmaker, and producer Andrew Samuels about his newest project, Murder in Paris. If you haven't watched it, it had played on SABC 3 this past Sunday as well as the previous Sunday. And we're going to be reviewing that documentary. It shed some light on the murder of Dulcie September, who was murdered in France. Dulcie was murdered on the 29th of March 1988. She died outside the door of the ANC offices on the fourth floor of the building located at the 28 Rue de Petit. I don't know the rest of the words because that's in French. But yeah, she was murdered at that place in Paris. And 30 years later, they still have no answers on who murdered Dulcie September. And hopefully this documentary will shed a little bit light on that. And Andrew Samuels will be joining me a little later to talk about that. So that is the lineup for the show today. If you have any questions, comments, queries, or suggestions, please send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061 766 0355. Alternatively, you can follow us on our social media pages and send it there. And for now, do stay with us. We will be right back.
To get your kick, Kiki's have now reopened on 235 Matthews Maiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the Taste with Kick.
Motala Perfumes, one of the biggest perfume manufacturing houses in Africa, with a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility specializing in designing, creating, developing and producing new scents and matching designer fragrances for all our stores, as well as private labeling for individuals and companies across Africa. Visit your nearest Motala Perfumes store or visit our website at www.motalaperfumes.com for more information on creating your own brand.
It is the end of season sale at Minty's Fabrics this week, with specials at incredibly low prices once again. Discover Minty's summer fabrics from 25 Rand per meter, ready-to-wear evening dresses starting from 1,500 Rand, and haute couture beaded fabrics from 399 per meter, making Minty's the only place to be this week. Follow our social pages for more information. Minty's, 542 Ridge Road, Durban. COVID protocols to be adhered to by all Minty's clients with necessary measures in place.
Penny Appeal's Education First campaign helps children to get access to quality education.
I'm 14 years old. When I grow up, I'd like to be a scientist.
We believe every child belongs at school,
And we want education, a better education.
learning and dreaming their way to a better future. With your help, we can provide classrooms, desks, stationery packs, and school shoes. Help make these dreams a reality. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Mid Morning Talk with me, Maryam Mkwanda. It is 8 minutes past 11. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, I know a word, the saying of which will cause him to relax if he does say it. If he says, I seek refuge with Allah from Satan, then all his anger will go away. So, for those of you who do not know, Johara Hassem will be one of the speakers at the Ramadan 1442 International Summit, which will, of course, be taking place online since this is part of the new normal. And her topic, a very interesting one indeed, is anger and how to use it to get closer to Allah. Now, we want to flip the switch a little bit and ask, can you use anger to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And if so, how? Joining me on the line is, or rather on the other side of the stream, is Anna, Master NLP Practitioner, Life Coach, and Media Personality, Johara Hassem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Johara, and shukran for joining me once again.
Wa alaikum assalam, Maryam. It's such a pleasure to chat to you. I always look forward to it.
Alhamdulillah, likewise. So first of all, tell us about the summit. What is the aim of it and what is it all about?
So I think the summit was a really great initiative that was spearheaded by Ridwan Muhammad, who's an incredible coach. We all were really thrown off last year, having to spend a Ramadan very much out of the ordinary and be at home and not, well, for the men, not perform their Salah in the masjid. For the woman, have this whole new dynamic of having your entire family with you the whole day of Ramadan. And in that, we have heightened emotions, we have tension, and we also really want to maximize and really make the most of a month that we are only afforded once a year. And so I think the motivation for having the Ramadan Summit is to bring together people that can share their expertise and their knowledge and their skills with everyone, from an emotional, a mental, a physical, and a spiritual point, so that we can use these tools to really gain the most out of our Ramadan.
Oh, that seems like it's going to be indeed an interesting one. And what are some of the topics that will be discussed?
So we have topics like concentration in Salah, the role of a woman, our physical performance in Ramadan, and our diet and how that impacts our mood. We have forging relationships with our children. There are so many topics that I think are really so all-inclusive for every kind of Muslim. And I will be speaking about anger and how to use it to get closer to Allah.
Yes, now coming to your topic, anger and how to get closer to Allah, where does anger come from?
So, traditionally, we know that anger comes from shaitan. Am I right? And that's why we've been told to recite A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. And that's quite fantastic. And what I'll really be getting into during the summit, without giving too much away here, because obviously we want to encourage all of you to join us for the summit over 2 days on the 6th and 7th of April. But what I'd like to do is to really open up your perspective on what anger is, okay? And how we can use it to get closer to Allah. Let's think of feelings and emotions, okay? Give yourself the opportunity to think of your feelings and your emotions, okay? Anger is not a primary emotion, which means that anger is not at the surface. We act on either fear, frustration, sadness, confusion, and we act on it in anger. So anger is a secondary emotion. Think about colors. You have your primary colors. You have blue and yellow that make green. You have red and blue that make purple. Similarly, you have primary feelings that get acted on in anger. Okay? When we can become aware of that, and this stems from mindfulness, this stems from self-awareness, this stems from understanding and forging this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we can observe our anger, that gives us the power not to act on our anger. And in that, That's how we get closer to Allah. There's a hadith that I learned many years ago that really, really resonates with me. And I can use this hadith to broaden our understanding on so many things. The hadith is Man arafa nafsahu arafa rabbahu. He who knows himself knows his Lord. So this idea of personal development and of doing your internal work and understanding yourself, which is self-awareness, this is not a new age concept. This is not something that we're doing as progressive humans because we live in such a fast-paced world, so we need to get in touch with ourselves. This is actually a prerequisite or a recommendation according to the Sunnah and the Quran. To know ourselves, we get connected with Allah. There's also a verse in the Quran that says Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. What do we understand by that? We want our conditions to change. We want different outcomes. We complain so often about our outcomes, but what are we doing? What internal work are we doing to change the outcome? And by internal work, what do we need to do? We need to know who we are. We need to understand our triggers. We need to have a level of commitment to growing as we grow emotionally, mentally, physically. We need to enable ourselves, we need to give ourselves the skills to be able to progress in life. And that comes through self-awareness. And on every junction of that journey and path, we will dive deeper into a more wholesome and fulfilling relationship with Allah.
Johara, that is indeed a very powerful points that you've just shared there already. And I don't want you to give away too much because, like you said, people need to participate in the International Summit. But what are some devastating effects and consequences of anger?
I love the fact that you asked this question, because anger traditionally gets its bad reputation from the devastating effects. Am I right? Anger can be completely destructive, but anger can also be constructive. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to weigh out the difference between the destructive anger and the constructive anger. So the destructive anger is the anger that we act on, when we act from an angry place. And think about the destruction we can cause: emotional destruction, physical destruction, road rage, bullying. Think about anger in its entirety and how it manifests in our lives, in our children's lives, in our day-to-day lives. Even if we are not the conduit or the vessel of anger, we could be at the receiving end of anger. Okay, so anger has many faces. But anger can also be constructive. And earlier I mentioned how with self-awareness, we get to observe our feelings as opposed to act on them. And that's a huge distinction that I want to make in the summit.
Because, you may know yourself, you may be aware of your feelings that this is when you are angry, or this is when you're upset, or this is when you are feeling whatever it is that you might be feeling. Yet somebody else might look at it as you being angry. For example, if you are feeling a sense of heightened emotions, perhaps you're just feeling sad or you're feeling disappointed at whatever situation, somebody else will look at it as anger. How do we work our way around that?
I don't think there is a way to work around it. I think we have to develop a sense of self-awareness that will enable us to articulate when we are feeling those things. Because when we have a streamline of communication, when there's a steady line of communication between the people that we are engaging with, it will eliminate that need to act from our anger. So if we feel, like I said, anger is not a primary emotion, it's a secondary emotion. So if we are feeling hurt, if we are feeling let down, if we are feeling frustrated, and those are natural human emotions, we can't avoid them, but we can use those emotions as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to communicate better with the people that we need to communicate with, as an opportunity to understand ourselves and our responses, which is so important because we're just such responsive and reactive people. We don't take a minute to understand, why am I behaving in this way? Why am I taking the kind of action that I'm taking right now? And how could I act differently? How could I behave better? How can I amend my patterns, my thinking patterns, my behavioral patterns, so that I can be more energetic? I could have a more fulfilling life. I could have a life with more love and with more understanding. And that comes, like I said, with self-awareness. And it also comes with being able to articulate the way that we are feeling. And a lot of the times we don't have an emotional vocabulary. We know what angry is, we know what sad is, we know what happy is, but those are relatively heightened emotions. What about content? What about joy? What about irritable? What about calm? What about relaxed? What about disheartened, disappointed? Those are emotions that we need to be able to know when to place and know how to use, know the words to use when we are feeling those things. Then we won't act from a place of anger.
You know,
But
it's
what
so
I'm saying right now, I'm making it, I'm like really condensing it and making it sound really simple. But to get the full lowdown, you know where you have to catch me.
yeah. And what I wanted to say was that, you know, when kids are growing up, they have the beautiful chart that they create for them, you know, with feelings, and you know, it has some faces on there, and then the kids can say, this is how I'm feeling at the moment. And we have that on Facebook as well, you know, your
Yes,
Facebook feelings.
checking
So
in. Yes.
yeah, somehow we need to implement that as adults if we are unable to articulate it. Perhaps have a chart at home and say that I'm feeling this way right now, so can I please just have a moment to myself? And now we're going to be going into the month of Ramadan, inshallah. And people tend to get a lot more angry during this time. Must be the hunger, so people are hangry. So,
Angry.
you know, earlier on you mentioned about we don't work our way around it, but then sometimes we can't avoid such situations when somebody's angry and you know they start a fight there, and well, what do we do?
So this is going to be a really bitter pill to swallow, but a lot of the times the reaction that we get from people is based on the way that we are behaving. Okay. And not always, not always. Abuse is never tolerated, but I want you to think about, if you have an unhelpful or an unhealthy thought in your mind that's making you insecure, or not self-assured, or making you doubt yourself, you're going to project yourself in that way through your conscious actions, even though that's an unconscious thought, right? So similarly, the kind of responses that we get from people are very much based on the way we are projecting ourselves. So they, without being too technical, when I say that there's no way of moving around our feelings, what I mean is, think about trying to suppress anger as a ball in water. Okay, a ball in a pool. The more you try to submerge that ball into the pool, the higher it's going to shoot up when it does eventually shoot up. Am I right? Okay,
Yes.
that's why I'm saying we can't work around our feelings. We have to acknowledge them and process them, because within a few seconds we can process those feelings if we become observers of those feelings. But when we try to ignore those feelings and avoid them, what we are actually doing is we are amplifying them and putting a spotlight on them. So by saying, I don't want to feel angry, I don't want to feel angry, all we are really telling our brains is anger, anger, let's be angry, let's find a way to be angry. And then we will find scenarios and invite situations that are going to make us angry. So no, we don't want to move around those feelings or work around them or try to ignore them or evade them. We want to understand them. it has a place, because anger is also such a useful emotion. Anger propels us into action. Think about the efforts that we all put into Masjid al-Aqsa recently after the night of Mi'raj. There was all of this attention about Palestine. Where did we get that enthusiasm and drive from? Because we understand the oppression. And because of understanding that oppression, it propels us into wanting to take action towards our Palestinian brothers and sisters. So we have useful and healthy anger as well. When we don't act on our anger, we observe it and we try to strategize and find tools to use that anger into a positive action. And in all of those cases and situations, that's how we can draw closer to Allah.
Sakina Pumalele Dolamo says, oh yes, we battle a lot with articulating our feelings, and Johara is going to help us with that when
Do
the
you
summit
know?
takes place. So
Yes. This is a topic really, really close to my heart, because a few years ago I was working with a child and I realized that he didn't have a vocabulary for his emotions. And you spoke about Facebook having that check-in function. That's actually a practice that I do in my practice, and I do it in my home. So on the supper table every night, we have turns and different people initiate it. My son is really enthusiastic, so you'll hear him say, Danielle, checking in. So the point of the exercise is to check in with whatever you're feeling. And there's no wrong or right answer, but that's just making you more aware of what you're feeling right here and now. Because a lot of the times we build up resentment and anger and these tense situations because we are not able to separate how we feel from what is happening. So sometimes nothing physically harmful is happening to us, but we feel threatened or isolated or something. So when we can isolate and separate how we feel from what is happening and being able to articulate those emotions is part of the process, we really are not acting on our emotions, but observing them and processing them. So when I was working with this young boy many years ago, I realized that there's a deficiency in the vocabulary that children have, and adults included, because we haven't really been able to label our feelings. We know what they feel like. We know the physiological response that it creates in our body, but we aren't able to articulate, ooh, this is excitement. Ooh, this is exhilaration. And this bubbles in my body in this fashion and makes me feel light and airy. Oh, this is fear. Fear makes me feel heavy. Fear makes me feel paralyzed. Fear makes me feel cold. This is anger. Anger makes me feel heat here. We're not able to articulate those emotions, label them, understand what the physiological response is. Most of the emotions children know, and adults, unfortunately, is happy, sad.
yeah.
And we really want to now develop that emotional vocabulary, because when we can develop the emotional vocabulary, we are now diving deeper into our sense of self and creating a deeper sense of self-awareness.
Oh, my 3 year, oh, well, she's almost 3. She often
Alhamdulillah.
asks me like, Mama, are you angry? I don't think she knows what anger is, but then that's when I have to tell her, no, I'm not angry, but I'm upset because of whatever happened. And well, personally, I don't even know where she learned the word anger. I just one day she asked me, "Are you angry?" Like, no, but maybe I should, because that gives me an opportunity to look at myself and to see how I'm feeling at that moment, and what can I do to make the situation much better for the both of us.
Beautiful. And also an opportunity for you to develop your daughter's vocabulary. So you can
Yeah.
explain to her, this is not angry. What I'm feeling is A, B, C. And when I feel this way, it makes me either tired, or it makes me feel energized, or it makes me just
Yes.
want to think. And so she understands. Remember, children are going to mirror the behavior of the adults around them. And to allow her that safety, that experiencing your feelings and knowing what your feelings are, to give her that safe space is going to be such a valuable skill that you're going to hand on to her for the rest of her life. Because a lot of the trauma that we are exposed to is in not being able to understand our feelings and label them. So we don't have this the safety net, or we don't have this anchor for what is right and what is wrong, because before, men were not allowed to be vulnerable, and men were not allowed to articulate emotions, and mothers had to just have it all together, and we couldn't fail at anything. But now we are progressing where we understand the value of being vulnerable, we understand the value of being able to share our emotions, and we don't live in the times where the parents and the adults were always right no matter what. Here we are given a new platform where if we have made a mistake as a parent or as a human, we have the opportunity to apologize and rectify that. That is also teaching our children that making mistakes is part of being a human. Making a mistake is part of being a Muslim. The dua that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam would read frequently was Ya muqallibul qulub thabbit qalbi ala dinik. O turner of hearts, keep my heart firm upon your religion, which already tells us that we will never be the same all the time. Our emotions will fluctuate, our iman will fluctuate, but we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us grounded. And when you teach your children that being vulnerable with our emotions is normal, and to feel a range of emotions is normal and healthy, you're giving them the confidence to dive in and understand themselves.
Johara, before you give us everything, you need to save some for the summit. So tell us about the summit. When is it taking place, and how can people register?
So the summit is going to be happening on the 6th and 7th of April. We are so excited. We have been in preparation mode over the last couple of months. So we invite all of you to join us for the summit over those 2 days. To register, you can go onto Happiness in Motion and just register for the summit. Or if you follow me on any of my social medias, which is on Instagram or Facebook, you can register using the link in my bio and click on the Ramadan 1442 Summit. It's a quick and easy process, and we have a lineup of incredible speakers, people that I really look up to and admire. So I am also really looking forward to just absorbing myself in those 2 days, and just, try to gain as much as I can from the other speakers as well, because these guys are next level. Let me just tell you, they are next level.
Yeah, definitely. Also looking forward to that. A majority of the speakers are coaches as well. So it should be a very interesting one. Johara, shukran so much for your time and for sharing that with us. And look forward to your discussion.
Jazakallah khair, Maryam. Take care.
Fine. Assalamu alaikum. That was Johara Hassem, a master NLP practitioner, life coach, and media personality, talking about anger and it being used as a tool to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She will be giving us more information about this at the Ramadan 1442 International Summit, which will be taking place on the 6th and 7th of April. Which is very soon. So make sure that you register if you did not go to Happiness in Motion or follow Johara on social media. And you can also send us a WhatsApp message to 061 766 or leave your comments in the comment section, and we'll get back to you regarding any information pertaining to the summit. It is 11:30 rather. You are listening to the Mid Morning Talk with me, Maryam Mkwanda. We will be right back after the break.